He just stepped in the building. Great friend of the show. That's right. He's a fight. His name is the RZA.
Yes. Prince Raekwon, the Resurrector, Bobby Digital.
Bong bong.
But Bobby Digi's not here today because we need the responsible, focused Abbott. We need that
Abbott
OG,
today.
that real focused leadership from you today.
All right, so we're gonna zone in. Let me bring him in. I gotta just do one thing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Because I'll tell you one thing, when you see Bobby Digital he usually has a big full-size bottle of something in his hand. When you see Bobby Digi, he often has the bottle in his hand.
Hey, guaranteed, because Bobby, like you said, he's not here today.
No, he's not here.
So we're gonna bring you more wisdom today. Today is actually the 22nd, right? And you look at the 22nd letter, it's for V, which means victory.
Talk about it.
And victory means to achieve our goals. And so a man must first put a goal in front of himself and then strive to achieve it. That's that victory. That's that wisdom. That brings about that what? That culture.
The Abbott's here.
You know what I mean? You get me? You rolling with this?
I'm
Yes,
all the way
100%.
in. We need this.
This is all the Abbott right here. Look at the planet Earth itself.
Okay.
It weighs 6 sextillion tons. That's 22 numbers. It's 6 followed by 21 zeros, so that's 22 numbers. That's today. Today is about 22.
Yo.
Math.
Sextillion?
Sextillion.
I've never even heard of sextillion.
But I'm going to start sexting right now.
I've heard of sexting.
Somebody hit me on Twitter right now. Let's get it in. Sexting.
Sextillion. Wow.
And today is also a very auspicious day.
Why?
I'll share this with you, brothers. Because April 22nd, 1992, I was on trial for my life.
Whoa.
And if I would have lost that trial, Wu-Tang would never have been. So this is an important day because this is the day they said not guilty to me and gave me a new perspective on my life. And I took that day. My mom's looked me in my eyes. She said, "This is your second chance. Go positive." And I went and meditated and went positive, formed the Wu-Tang production company.
Wow.
Told my brothers to come sign on, but recorded Protect Your Neck that year, and bong bong, history was made.
And now, like, you think about the level you've gotten to, like, honestly, Riz, I'm gonna keep it real with you. You make me so proud. Like, you're one of the hip-hop dudes who, like, the most hardcore, best hip-hop music, and you've made it to this being respected in all world, literary, art, movies. You do it, you make us look good, man.
Well, yeah, hip-hop, one thing I said about hip-hop, I was like, yo, they just call us hip-hop artists. We are hip-hop artists because we do hip-hop, but the common denominator that we have is that word artist. You're an artist, kid. When you get up here and you do your show and you're making people laugh, you going into that artistic expression of yourself. You may be home grouchy, eating popcorn, TV, like saying nothing. But when you want to artistically express yourself,
Putting on a show.
You come in and do that. So we all artists, and I realized that I'm an artist first, and hip-hop was that form of art that got me into this world, but there's many sides to express, and that's why you see me writing books or directing films, you know what I mean? Because that's what the Abbott does.
And acting in films.
And
you're acting in a film right now.
Yeah.
What is it? Brick Mansions.
Yeah, this film is called Brick Mansions. It's in theaters on the 25th, so that's this weekend. I invite everybody to go out and watch this film. It's an action-packed movie. You know, it's entertaining, and that's what I think. When you're gonna spend your $12, you better be entertained, right? Or get some pizza. but you will be entertained. It's starring Paul Walker, David Bell, and myself, and it takes place in the city of Detroit in the future, and it's based on the ghetto and the poor people have become so rowdy and so despised by the haves that they built a big wall around it.
Whoa.
And they called it Brick Mansion. So the projects is basically brick mansions. And
so it's Brick City for real.
It's Brick City for real. And it's in Detroit. And I played Tremaine Alexander, who's the drug lord kingpin of this neighborhood, because there's no more police there. There's no more hospitals or schools. So he is like the mayor of Brick Mansions. And he rules with a gun. You know what I mean? So, which is, you know, his own environment. And this movie, like I said, you know, it's fun, and I think if you pay close attention, you will learn something about it. I think Tremaine's character has something about him that we, especially my Brownsville brothers, what up Brownsville, and what up Park Hill, you know, we could relate to this character, Tremaine Alexander. You know what I mean? We'll see. I played him a way that reminded me of the drug kingpins that grew up in my neighborhood when I was young, especially this guy named Dusty. You know what I mean? Dusty.
He ran where in
Dusty
Brooklyn?
Dusty was from Brooklyn, but he brought his empire to Staten Island, and he became like Dusty was like a mega large drug dealer. Eventually, I think he got 75 years. But even though he was a very ruthless man and very powerful in the negative side, he always promoted positivity to the young brothers.
Yeah, that was like the brothers around my way. A lot of the gangbangers and drug dealers. The reason I'm even fortunate to be where I am is because they didn't allow me. They saw something in me and didn't allow me to get off into that life.
Right. That's how Dusty
And because
was.
I never perpetrated like I was some tough dude or, I was always laughing, having a good time, listening to hip hop and dancing and shit. They didn't want me to be. They was like, nah, you could be better than this.
Right.
And pushed me to go to class and made sure I went to practice and made sure I was working. So.
And it's funny because sometimes, on a law enforcement side, those kind of people are just looked at as criminals. Mm-hmm. But they don't realize that these men actually become like icons of our community because of their money and everything. They attract us, but when they have a good heart, what Dusty did for me was he was the one who brought KRS-One, Rakim, all of them to Staten Island, to the Park Villa, and he would have shows and he would have rap contests. And that's where you'll see Capadonna, Raekwon, the RZA, Method Man, all practicing to be part of this rap contest to win that $1,000 from Dusty. And then after that, he brought out EPMD. Then we met EPMD, and we realized just by meeting these artists, you realize there's a chance that you can become one of these artists. So he did that for us, and he's not really respected for that. But so for this character I played, I remembered him, you know what I mean? And I hope that if he ever see this, he could see something about himself that this young 16-year-old kid picked up from him, something positive about him. He's in jail for 75 years, so that's that. But maybe he'll see something positive, like, you know what? All that negative I did, I still did something positive that did affect somebody, and I'm showing it back to him in this movie, Brick Mansions.
So check it out in theaters. What is it? This coming weekend?
Yeah, the 25th. Yep.
25th.
April 25th. It's a good film. The only thing about the film that's a little bit, sad, shall I say, is that we lost Paul Walker, and we lost a real good man there, a man that was a good father, a good actor, a good person. That same smile you see him give us on the screens, he had that when he walked everyday life. You know what I mean? So, for all the Paul Walker fans out there, here's a chance to pay your respect to him, to go see him on the screen, to go see that smile you love. You know what I mean? And see him in action, driving fast cars and breaking. I could say kicking ass, right?
Yeah, of course.
And kicking ass, yo.
I'll tell you something I learned about Paul Walker when he passed away. Paul Walker, to me, it became obvious what kind of guy he was. I knew nothing about him based on the way people appeared to respond to his passing. Like, everyone seemed like a really good dude passed away.
I didn't hear anything negative.
Nothing came out. It was just everyone was like, it was just people going and paying respects and crying like this guy was such a good guy.
He was, y'all. There's a buddy I work with called Sun Kang, he's in the Fast and Furious movies, but he's also doing a show that I'm working on now, right? And when the day Paul passed, we both had to come to work the next day, and we was there, and we both just looked at each other because we both lost a friend. But then we started telling each other different stories, and every story that Sung said, it was just another magical story about this guy, man. And Sung is part. Look at the Fast and Furious. There's a lot of great actors and powerful people there, but most of his positive stories involve Paul. You know what I mean? And that means that this man really was the truth of goodness in his life. You know what I mean? And
so is that hard? Is it hard going out to do all the things that promo time you would have been seeing him? Because you guys end up doing a movie, but then you break up for a while, and then you come back together to work the movie.
Exactly.
Right?
That was our plan. I mean, I remember leaving him like, yo, I'll catch you at the premiere, kid. You know what I mean? And we looked forward to that. Me and him actually did get a good friendship on that set. We was in Montreal, away from, the American life in our own way, and so we kind of was the two guys that that had the most relation, and we spent a lot of time together. And you plan to see that person again, at the premiere or at the press junkets, you know what I mean? And that was like a bet on it. Like, yeah, I see you there, yo. And yo, we should do a kung fu movie because he had just saw a Man with the Iron Fist. He's like, yo, I want to do a movie like that with you one day.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, it's like that. You guys could have so easily worked together too, because he was in action. That's something you love.
He was a martial artist.
Is it because you're now so far removed from your upbringing in a time and when you probably were accustomed, unfortunately, to hearing bad things happening to people, has the gap gotten long enough where it struck you a little bit? Like, were you taken aback by losing someone, or is it something from growing up when things were rough that you're still accustomed to?
Well, I think you're never accustomed to loss. You know what I mean? The difference, I think, now is that growing up in a tough neighborhood, you expect it. You know, and when in New York, you know that as soon as it get hot, somebody gonna get shot.
Right now,
You know what I mean?
It's starting to warm up now.
That's just how it is in the hood. All right, so you expect it. You wonder who it's going to be, but when you kind of are not in that world and you're in a world where people seem to be successful and seem to have a different kind of focus and motivation in life, and yet it still happens. It's painful every time. I don't think you never get removed from it though. I mean, I don't like seeing my brothers in the hood kill each other. I mean, I saw the news about Chicago this morning.
Yeah.
Like 16 kids got shot over the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
Come on, man. I don't like hearing that because here go what I'm promoting, everybody. I'm promoting this. I want to say guitars for guns, all right? Because a guitar is made of the same material as a gun. And you can make a song to express yourself. You can express your violence, your anger, your sadness, all your emotions through music. I would like to start a campaign. I was a guy in the hood that had guns. So that was part of what we did, all right? I don't have guns. I buy guitars now. So before I was like, give me that Mac. Give me that. No, now it's like, yo, give me that
Fender.
Give me that Fender. Give me that Gibson. And I want to promote that. I think that if the young people had something to do with that energy, this is why I promote martial arts, because martial arts make you find a way to get your aggression out, find a way to cultivate your chi.
But also it shows you how to keep discipline.
And discipline, which is most important. And then I promote chess, because chess teaches you how to think multiple moves ahead. And a lot of us make mistakes because we are spontaneous on that quick move. So,
well,
I like guitars.
And you know
for
what's
them.
interesting about what's going on in Chicago is a lot of young people are trying to make music as their path to get out of there.
right.
Chief Keef, Lil Herb, Lil Bibby,
Yep.
you know,
Reese,
Dirt,
yeah.
yeah,
Chance.
a lot of
Chance,
those.
I like Chance. I actually had a chance to work with him in the studio. Good kid.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, you know, they are trying to make that music move to get out of there. And I've had a chance to talk to them, and they're like, yo, we making a couple dollars. We moving it. And they don't even talk about the money that they're making because they're afraid that somebody's going to try to come. I mean, the crabs in the barrel thing is so real that they'll try to come rob you and set it off on you so you can't get out. It's almost like the hoods in Chicago right now is prisons themselves.
Wow. Well, you know, everybody got their history, and I think even some of the gangsters and the thugs feel like they got a logic to what they do. But what they don't understand is the long-term effect of what they're doing, because they don't see it. It's like a 15, 16-year-old kid may not think he's going to live to be 30 years old.
That's right.
He don't think he's going to be 40 years old.
We didn't. When I was that age, we had no, I didn't
40
have.
was not in my equation.
39 was not a number I ever thought about.
No, exactly. So now you're living life with a small window of your path, and you're making foolish mistakes then. And so even if the kid, you know, say shoots somebody and he causes trauma to that family, and then he gets locked up by the cops, and now he's going to have trauma to his family, and he's going to go, it's going to be 10, 15 years later when he's going to realize how foolish his action was. You know what I mean? And that is never taught. Nobody really explains to these young people what's going to happen 10, 20 years from now. You know what I mean? And, hope, even in a movie like Brick Mansion, I just want to go back to that. I think there's a scene where my character says, these guys are out here, they're not shooting somebody busting a cap in the street, they're busting caps on these video games. But what I do, I invite them in, I get them a job, I give them some money to put some food on their table. And because I'm a man of knowledge, maybe I'll rub off and they'll get some refinement. Mm-hmm. That's one of my scenes that I'm telling like this lady who I got captive, but I'm trying to explain to her that, yo, there's a reason why I do what I do. And I'm hopefully, the goodness of me will penetrate one of these knuckleheads. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he can
Even though
make
your
it out.
character is also doing bad.
Yeah.
The character also has, that's you're saying there's a multi-layers.
It's multi-layers. I mean, it's like I said, Dusty did a lot of bad, but the good thing that he did resonated. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for him in a weird way, Wu-Tang wouldn't be Wu-Tang, because if you look at the top MCs in the crew, they all worked underneath him at one point, and we all look forward to those rap battles on the weekends. Mm-hmm. We always at those park villas that he do. You know what I mean? So he had something to do with the growth of that music on Staten Island. You know what I mean? And even though he was a guy that, you know, that
was getting his money illegally,
that terrorized the community on the other hand.
So the RZA's here on the Hot 97 Morning Show. Appreciate you dropping knowledge and spending some time with us. And speaking of, you know, the MCs you came up with in family, you know, I think it was last week.
Talk about it.
Was it Raekwon? You and Raekwon have been sharing. I don't want to, and see, I've gone on record on the show, and I've said, listen, these are brothers.
Right.
They're family first.
Yep.
Do not try to spin this Wu-Tang having a business disagreement or disagreeing on the direction or the path of the group into something that is ultimately negative. Because I feel like I argue with Rosenberg, I argue with Cypher Sounds, I argue with Flex, I argue with Angie, I argue with everyone here, because we're arguing for the greater good of the family. Right? So we all agree we want to be great. And along that path to greatness, we're gonna have disagreements of how we
achieve it. Yep, I agree.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a good way to put it, because, you know, we could call it arguing or we could call it building, but also sometimes if you guys may get a chance to come together every day or every week and communicate and work it out. What we're not doing though, as brothers and as business brothers, is putting time together. So I got to read about how he feels. He's got to read about how I feel.
Why can't you guys get together? Why can't that happen?
You know what? That's the if I had the answer to that question,
you wouldn't have this problem in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, I try to make myself as valuable as I can. I will not deny I'm a busy man.
Yeah, you got to be busy. Let's keep it real. You got to be running around all over the place.
You know
but he'll respond. He responded to my text. And
exactly.
I know him and he's got a what's the young lady's name? She's
Tamika.
on point. Tamika's on point. I emailed Tamika. Bang. She gonna let me know. Give me 48 hours. I'll find him. Or you know what I mean. So there is.
And my number is the same. But what happens is this though. I'm gonna clear one thing up on the Raekwon thing, because the newest article in Rolling Stone, Raekwon says that I'm a bold-faced liar, right? Which I'm far from. I don't need to lie. Okay, I'm a grown man. All right, I got children. I teach them. I only got one rule in my house: don't lie to me. All right. So anyway, but what happened was I did an interview a few weeks ago that just came out later, and I guess when it came out, he read it then. But I spoke to Raekwon about 8 days ago. But the interview was probably 14 or 16 days ago.
Got it.
So he says in his interview, "RZA's a lie. He spoke to me." No, when I did the interview, brother, I didn't speak. I hadn't spoken to him in 6 months before that, until recently. Last time I saw that brother was on tour in the summer, so we didn't get a chance to chop up the ideas of what I'm trying to do. But then we did speak a few days ago, about 6-7 days ago, and he gave me his demands, which we presented to the company. Like, yo, this is his demands. If they could be reached, they could be reached. If they can't, they can't. And if they can't, then we got to reevaluate what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? But there was no lying there, and another thing I would say is that I would respect if, you know, like when I read something that Ray say, I don't really take it as if he said it because he didn't say it to me. I don't know what these writers write. You know what I mean? So unless I watch the video of it, I go, yeah, well, okay, that's what he said. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But so I wanted to say to all our Wu brothers that, you know, we should never take this press and media on face value. We could easily reach out to each other and get the facts. You know what I mean? Don't read the facts. Hear it right from the source. You know what I mean? So I just want to say that.
So it does seem clear, though, based on this conversation, that, you know, in your eyes and in the eyes of trying to do a complete Wu project, Ray is a very important piece of caring about it.
Like, it's very important. I mean, listen, when you form Voltron, you need every piece. You know what I mean? So we need him. We need him there.
He's a killer piece.
I want him there. I ask him over and over to be there. Now, my opinion is that it shouldn't take business for us to come together to do what we do, which is celebrate. This is not just this is my idea. I will not deny. I came with the idea. Let's do another album to celebrate our 20th year anniversary. Why not do it with a new album? I came with the title A Better Tomorrow because I feel the world could use a better tomorrow. Even if you make $1 million today, How about a better tomorrow, kid? But if you're having a bad day,
Did you guys do a record called that at some point too?
yeah, there was a record.
There was a record,
record called that. You know what I'm saying, so I want to bring that spirit back, right? A better tomorrow, and so it's me kind of driving the idea and everything, and more importantly to me, it's like to celebrate ourselves. Now, why wouldn't you want to celebrate yourself? Nas is celebrating Illmatic right now, and he got Lauryn Hill coming on stage, for him. He got Damon Mark. He got guys that wasn't even on the record coming to celebrate with him because how important he was to the history of hip hop music. Now, Wu-Tang is important. You may go back, Rosenberg, and say to yourself, "Wow, Wu-Tang was something that got me into hip hop."
It was one of the most important things. We always talk about this. Their movement is one of your guys is one of the most important to ever happen in terms of making hip hop global.
Okay,
one of the most important moments ever.
So if that's inspirational to people that's outside of us and they can enjoy it, why don't we come and celebrate that? And it shouldn't be nothing about $1 to do that, because the first album, 36 Chambers, they gave us a budget. I'm not shy to say this nowadays. They gave us a budget of $55,000 for that album.
Steve Rifkin.
55.
And out of that $55,000, I only used $36,000, and I never got the back end.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
Of course, use 36.
Right? And I don't think nobody put no money in their pocket. We just came to the studio and did what we did. Now, after that album was made, every member was worth over $1 million. So now, if that's how it worked in the beginning, and here we are now closing the chapter, if I would take the advice, to say, you know what, let's just come together, put some time together, and make some music, and see what comes out of it. Because look, what comes out of it is going to have its own value, regardless to what value I may, how much you think I get paid for a beat these days? People still send me $60,000 to make beats, yo. All right, just to hit my buttons. If I do a verse, somebody may go, yo, here go $30,000 for a verse for me. I mean, I don't do a lot. You don't hear me in music. I'm more in film. But when I do, it's always at a number. So if I'm coming to the Wu and I'm saying, yo, I'm going to make 10 beats and I'm going to do 10 verses, that's $1 million. How can a record budget of today's market sustain that?
You can't.
It can't do it.
But let me since you started talking about money, RZA, because I know that's always the toughest piece. Mm-hmm. That whether it's Rosenberg negotiating his contracts, me talking about my contracts, or this one or that one, even here, right? It comes down to here's the amount of money that the company's going to put towards this program.
Exactly.
And if this person costs this and this and that, here's how much is left, and then boom. Is it just about splits? Is that why it can't come together? Is because nobody's willing to come in and just record without understanding what the aftermath of the business will be about? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I think it's like to be specific, I think just that everybody has a certain value that they say they bring to the table, and they want to bring that value to the table.
And they want to know they're going to get that value before they record.
Yeah, they want to know they're going to get it before they record, but also they want that value. But at the same time, the industry can't sustain that value. That's the main problem. Look,
nobody's giving $1 million budget to a Wu-Tang album right now. Let me just say it.
Look,
there's not a record label out there that's going to go, here's $1 million for the Wu-Tang album, because they know a lot of people are going to download it for free. They know they're not going to eat on the merch. They know they're not going to eat on your touring budget, so they're not going to make their money back.
But you can make that money once you get it done.
Hold on, but check it out. Let's say they know. Actually, to be honest with you, they will pay $1 million for a Wu-Tang record. But a Wu-Tang is dealing with 8-9 rappers. $1 million don't
ain't enough.
$1 million can't sustain it. So let's say I say, yo, I'm worth 200. If I'm worth 200 and it's 10 of us, that's 2 million. If I'm worth 300, it's 10 of us, that's 3 million.
Well, and then you have to have the conversations about who's worth what. And that's a hard conversation.
That's a hard conversation.
Because then we all know which members are worth a lot, and when it goes, and it's a sliding scale. Now, here's another question, since I think it's great that we're having a dialogue about something people care about, and as lovers of Wu-Tang, this is a great way to have it. Isn't a lot of it also, I feel like what's always been talked about behind the scenes, never have I had a conversation with Wu-Tang members about this, but my belief has always been that people believe that you and Devon, there's some sort of jealousy about your control of the W overall. Don't you agree, bro? That's kind of like something people have felt has existed at least.
Let me say something to you, kid. What it says right there? It says Hot 97, okay? If 5 years from now you working at Power 106, you are not Hot 97. Hot 97 is owned by the MS Broadcasting Company.
Yeah.
Okay?
Riz always knows everything.
No, I'm just saying.
He's the habits.
No, he knows.
Wu-Tang is owned by Wu-Tang Production. I'm gonna share something to the public real quick. All right? This is something hard to share. Right? But there came a time when every member from Wu-Tang who was signed to Wu-Tang production, right, came to me individually on their own accord and asked to be released from their contract. Now here it is. I've built a black business that at that time New York Times was saying was worth $40, $50 million. And this is before a lot of brothers was getting those high, reaching that number. And here it is. Everybody wants to now take their own contract and go their own way. So each member probably at that time was worth $2 or $3 million to my company. And what did I do? I signed them all for free. Away. Go.
And where he's about to go is where I hear a lot of black business owners go. 50 Cent goes there. Diddy goes there.
Which is where?
And I think Hove goes there.
So look.
If they were any other business, not only would they not have released you, but the only reason you're asking is because it's a black business and your expectation is that they're going to do you a favor because it's black owned.
Look, Suge wouldn't let nobody go. Suge still get royalties. He didn't play that. But Wu-Tang was a brotherhood. So that's the first and foremost. So as a brother, I got to give that back to my brother.
Okay, I respect
That's
it.
why. That's how. Listen.
But as long as they know other record labels would not have done that.
You can't listen. No record label does that. That's part of the business is not to do that. But I did that out of brotherhood. But I did ask for one thing in return. I said, listen, Wu-Tang Clan will remain part of Wu-Tang production. And whenever that flag goes up, just come back and represent with me. That's all I ask in return. They come back and represent that which built
And that
us.
still happens. I think people do a pretty good job of showing up for that moment.
And that's what I asked.
Yeah.
And now here's the time where the flag is up again to celebrate 20 years. And I'm just asking brothers to come in and put their participation in, like I put my participation in.
Now, I think some would, what I would guess people would say, it sounds like I'm really stirring shit up, but I'm not trying to. This is just want to get it all out there.
Think, yeah.
So when what we heard was there'd be time people would call and say, I need the Wu-Tang logo for blank. Can you give me that? And then are you then who has to decide and say, yes, you can put the Wu-Tang logo on this, you can put the Wu-Tang logo on that.
That's like the Nike logo. You can't put Nike on Adidas sneakers.
And are people bitter that there are times when you thought, nah, I don't think that's something good to use the Wu-Tang logo on?
To be honest with you, when it comes to my brothers, they all have access to the Wu-Tang logo. But you can't go give it to a third party.
That's all.
Yeah, how you gonna take it and say
you got the as simplest form is just like you got a license, the Hot 97 logo. We let it.
I have to ask if I want it for something.
Yeah, you want it? Nah.
And you might give it to him, but he can't go take it and give it to Koch.
No.
No, you can't do that.
Exactly.
Or if there's DJs on there that we don't associate with, I don't know them like that.
They can't be on it, right?
And if you want to get them to use it, you may find a compensation that makes sense for your
It's got to be licensed. So, what can we do? And when I say we, I mean Rosenberg and myself. And I don't want to. Hey, look, it's money. I don't have the money, and I can't. I can't
Let me
promise
get $1 million.
No, I ain't got that. But what I do want to do is provide. I guess I just want to put it out there that is there something the RZA could do, and that you would take responsibility for in the rift between what's happening with Raekwon? Do you take any onus on this?
Of course, I got to look. There's always two sides of the coin. Right. So there's got to be something that I'm doing, right? That
is causing this,
right? That makes him feel dissatisfied, right? But I will say to you out loud, and not ashamed, that I've been trying to do everything I can to bring satisfaction. So I was asked, let's have other producers make the beats. I said, cool. That's not what a Wu-Tang album is, but if that's what's going to make everybody feel enthused, then go ahead and call who you want to call and bring them in. Now, no, you call them. Wait, I'm going to call them. You want me to call Kanye for a Wu-Tang beat when Kanye calls me for a beat for his album? Do that really makes...
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Don't make a lot of sense, but I love Kanye. So, of course, if he wants to rock with us, it'll be a blessing. Swiss Beats, a blessing. You know what I mean? DJ Khaled, a blessing. All them brothers, I love and respect them and admire what they do. You know what I mean? They taking hip hop to how they take it. Yeah. Look at Pharrell with his new renaissance, man. I'm loving it.
Of course you are.
All right? Yeah, you gotta love it. So now if those producers say, you know what, we want to go and get the Wu-Tang MCs to come and rap on our music, and that's what Wu-Tang Clan want to do, let's do it. But I bet you, even if we do that, and which I'm willing to do, the fans are gonna be like, that ain't Wu-Tang.
No,
I gotta be honest. I know this sounds nuts, and I don't want to show that I'm taking anyone's side in this. But when I hear about these producers who are my favorites of all time, hearing them doing Wu doesn't get me excited.
Don't get you.
If you had told me, you were like, well, here's what we're gonna do. we're gonna get Fourth Disciple and Mathematics and all the other
we
people
got?
who've done.
No,
Right, you got those people.
They
The
already
new
on.
single we're about to play right now, Mathematics did.
He did
that.
that. So
Yeah.
as long as you tell me those guys are involved, that's all I want
Look,
to hear.
Fourth Disciple came to New York with his music. Mathematics is doing his thing. Those are my students. They doing it. I'm saying they do the style of music every day. I make films.
But I personally don't really want other people. Now, maybe you get a Kanye feature, get someone to come through on a song that makes sense and they do a hook that makes sense. That could be interesting. But I personally don't really want an album produced by a bunch of big names.
Well, you're one man.
I know. And by the way, I'm not taking sides. That's my own
Right.
nerdy. That's
No.
just the way I am as a Wu-Tang.
A lot of fans feel that way, but I would say, anything to make this is supposed to be a celebration. This ain't supposed to be hard work, brother. This is supposed to be, like I said, Nas is celebrating his album all week. He got the Tribeca Film Festival.
yeah.
He got what he did changed the
Well,
direction. So
and-
we supposed to celebrate this,
And
bro.
we worked with Tribeca to get that done with Nas.
See?
The same thing I was trying to work with the Wu last year when we had Wu on Summer Jam.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be a part of
The 20 anniversary
the 20-year
launch.
anniversary summer where we were going to do block parties. We was going.
It's looking more like 25th.
I had reached out to BBC to do like some collabo Wu-Tang BBC shit. He was going to approve it, but
Yep.
the music wasn't all the way where it needed to be, so we just kind of
held loose.
we just let it fade. But we're trying to get there. Let me ask you this. Can we all agree in this conversation that there's 3 top-tier MCs in the Wu-Tang?
Okay, let's see who you feel they are.
Meth,
Okay,
Ghost,
okay,
Ray.
okay.
That's your. Then you have the RZA, the RZA, and other guys who are more of those.
I mean, they're
I
all
don't wanna
ill.
call-
You're saying they're ill and disgusting still.
No, they're amazing. But those are kind of the faces that those names when you think Wu-Tang to the mainstream, not to the hardcore Wu-Tang fan.
And longevity. And you're talking about over time continuing to be
And I know that I know that's not what people want to talk about, right?
Well, let's talk about that for
scaling
instance.
that because
I think-
then your representation, you're the face of the Wu-Tang in a different way, right?
Right.
You're like it's kind of like Angie and Flex are the face of Hot 97. That's what
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
Right? But people would be like, yeah, but Ebro has to control things.
Right.
But I would still put Angie and Flex. They're the forefront.
Right.
I'm the back.
You may have more power than them, but they are the tip
But
of
my
your spear.
job is to make them shine.
Exactly. Okay.
Right? And I see that in the same way in the Wu. The RZA's job, even though everybody knows you're the RZA,
Right.
it doesn't, things start and begin with you.
Right.
Right? Your job is to make the MCs great.
Right.
Meanwhile, your greatness comes because you've made them great.
Right.
So when I'm hearing you talk, I'm hearing the fact that obviously you're an artist. You have ego, as you should. You're a performer, and you want your craft to be respected.
Of course.
What I'm trying to do is set forth the conversation that as a team, as a family, let's let everybody's strength shine
Well,
in the right way and
Okay.
make sure that the process as you guys attempt to try to finalize this creative piece, because I heard there's $5 million on the table for this artistic little piece of
for the art, yeah,
for the art thing that's
a
rolling out.
beautiful
So
thing.
that's its own
That's
different
its
thing.
own thing, yeah.
But it's still gonna set a tone and a buzz and a Wu-Tang buzz that everybody can benefit from. I'm just trying to hopefully jumpstart the conversation that look, I'm the RZA, I play my part, this is what I do. You're Meth, you're Ray, you're Ghost, you guys had success as MCs separate from the Wu, and you guys should be taken care of because of that. Then you have the RZA and you have Inspector Deck and everybody
Master
else
Killer.
and Master Killer and Capadonna, and they fall in their places as well. But let's just respect everyone's role. And I think somebody, an outside entity, needs to step in, and you guys should allow them to I guess
assimilate that.
direct that.
Well, because like
Well, let me comment
comment
first. Okay. Well, look. There goes something that the other Wu brothers would say on this, right? When you look at the popularity of Method Man, the popularity of Raekwon, the popularity of Ghost, right? They would feel that they are also due to them becoming popular, because Method Man, single Method Man, when we had a whole Wu-Tang album, we all sat down and I was like, yo, we're going to start with Method Man. And everybody agreed, and everybody supported Method Man as the spearhead. When it came to Cuban Links, maybe Raekwon's on 4 songs by himself. That's an album where every Wu member came in and put their input to make that a great album. You go the same thing with Iron Man. So in the beginning phases of our career, when things were not so infiltrated by the industry, when it was kind of more contained, we all helped to I personally calculated this. Like, yo.
It was chess.
Yeah, we're going to put this one here. He's going to go there. Dirty going to go here. And it was all, and everybody supported that energy. And so, therefore, they became the ones. But by the time we got to inspect the deck, we was tampered with already.
Yo, that's so.
Know what I mean? By the time we got the deck, we was tampered. And Kappa kind of even jumped in front of deck. You know what I mean?
He saw it moving the way it was, right? He's
because he had he had the song. He did Ice Cream, Ice Water, and he did Winter Wars. And at that time, I had just made a big label deal with Sony, so I signed him directly myself. Whereas Deck was signed to Steve Rifkin, so he had to wait for the Steve Rifkin process. Where I didn't have to wait. I had the cheese. Kappa, let's go. We
Slang Editorial, move.
Bong, Slang Editorial.
Run.
Number 1 album when it came out.
Yeah.
Pillage was dope, man.
So anyway, point I'm trying to get to is that, but all these energies took to make each one of us great. So like I'm great because of what? I had great MCs. So they elevated me as a producer. And those MCs are great because they had a great producer and a great other MCs around them. So when you put that equation in, it's hard for somebody inside, like for Deck to say, hold on, meth is worth more than me. I'm the first one who set it off on I smoke on the mic like smoking Joe Frazier. Everybody knows my verse. Everybody knows I bomb atomically. You know what I mean?
He ain't lying.
Everybody
People do know those jokes.
I'm saying everybody, you know, so when you present this idea to him, it's hard to swallow that. Now I could say, yo, Deck, but look, bro, Meth got millions of records sold. He's a movie star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has a market value, bro. You have a value to us, but not a market value to the market. And so maybe you should respect that. But how can he respect that when
he knows the part? It's complicated. It's very complicated.
It's very complicated, and I will liken it to you know, when you go visit your family in the hood.
Right,
and your family looks at you and
Like,
they go, yo, fam, you wouldn't have made it out here without us. And you go, you're absolutely right, which is why I'm back here now, and I make sure that throughout the year I give back to the fam. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's just, you know, that's part of having a family, I think.
Yeah, it's like every year, you know, in the name of, and I do it in the name of Wu-Tang, right? Every year, you know, I'm from Brownsville, you know, and so I haven't missed a year of sending turkeys to Brownsville since the beginning. You know what I mean? And I may hit Harlem, I may hit Staten Island, but I don't miss Brownsville no matter what, right? Because I remember the hunger we had in that neighborhood, and I know how a small thing can help a family. So, but I don't do it in the name of the RZA though. I do it in the name of Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? And so we all benefit from that charity. So that same spirit of doing it for the Wu. So even though Method Man is a mega star within our crew, and you would argue that he's the biggest. Would you argue that?
You could.
I would.
Okay, he's come to the studio with no money down and nothing. He's already did 9 songs, and he's the biggest. Now, on a, and not taking no credit for myself. Now, on the market value now, you argue?
Yeah, you're a movie star. You got a movie coming out right now.
I spent over 100 days working on this album, kid. All right? When I get a great salary per day doing film, and they bringing me Red Bull and ladies.
What they pay you, nails. They pay you like $2 million. You make like $2 million a movie, and they advance $1 million of that just to block out your schedule. I mean, I'm putting this business out, but when you do movies, common, a lot of these movie stars, they'll get, and sidebar, they'll say, we're going to give you $5 million for this movie. We're going to give you $2.5 million right now just so you don't put anything on your schedule for 90 days in this time period. And even if they don't give you the back end, you still get to keep that 2.5.
Now, listen, all this, and we got to wrap up this conversation, even though this is an epic conversation. That said, like we said, all those things, I think you're right. This is why it's complicated. Yep. You're right about you. You're right about Meth. Then Ghost is like, yo, hey, heads up, I'm over here. I've been the most consistent when it comes to album after album after album, making sure the kids, all these years when other members of Wu-Tang were quiet, Ghostface was keeping Wu hot. Let's be straight. Raekwon had always kept a really ill persona. Then he comes back with Cuban Links 2, and it scorches fire again.
Yeah.
So like everyone brings something major to the table, but like you said, it's about everyone figuring this out for the best of Wu and for hip hop. So I hope that we figure it out.
And I hope this conversation lands on the audience and everybody watching the right way. Right, because not only did we want to bring attention to Brick Mansions and you being in a Paul Walker movie, which is an accomplishment and makes hip hop proud, and you make us look great.
Oh, thank you.
But I do want this to be hopefully the start of the dialogue.
Yeah.
That people go, okay, listen, I really want my split to be X, but I'm willing to give that up so this can happen and this can happen, so it goes to the greater good.
I would love for us to celebrate this 20 years anniversary with an album. To give to the people, you know what I mean, who gave so much to us. And if it could happen, I'm gonna do everything within my power to make it happen. You know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna do. And you know, and that's all I can do is what's within my power.
Thank you, RZA.
Thank you,
Thanks,
RZA.
brother. Peace.